Sunday, December 7th. There's a lot to talk about. First thing I want to start with is I've been doing weather for over 40 years. I can't remember. I'm sure it happened. I want to say it was back in the 60s. This much valley fog, this persistent, this long, and it's continuing. We'll talk about it. But again, I was like, yeah, I'm not that. 40 years, I can remember. I've been doing weather. Before that, I was, I'm 67 years old. I can't remember a time when the valley fog was so, valley fog, radiation fog, Thule fog was so prevalent. And it's hanging on. We also have that big earthquake in Alaska to talk about. A 7.0, why no tsunami warning on that? That was kind of weird because it was on the subduction zone on the Pacific Ring of Fire. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the king tides. Yeah, they're winding down. But, Lucky Drive this morning, right, in Marin County. And then big rain heads for the Pacific Northwest. In other words, they got an AR, atmospheric river. Kind of looks more like it. I would almost call, if it was coming for us, I'd say atmospheric river too. Even though we try to avoid that phrase. But the idea being, they're going to get real wet. We're on the south end of that. So we get more of this. And that valley fog is persistent. It's hanging in. Redding, these spots in the valley, their temperatures are in the 40s and low 50s all day. Not just today, but tomorrow as well, and the next day, and the next day. Now, with all this activity going through the Pacific Northwest in the next few days, we will see some erosion of the fog in the northern part of the state. But look at the Bay Area. I mean, let's see if I can come in a little closer. Can I? I think I can. Let's do this. So you can see the fog squishing out through the gaps, and that's, in the Bay Area. So, I mean, that's all valley fog. And so we get that thing that I talk about all the time is that valley fog inside the bay and pushing out through the gate. That's dangerous for maritime activities. And so we've had we talked about that in a video past that, some shipwrecks and things like that. The largest loss of life in any shipwreck off San Francisco occurred in this kind of fog pattern. A steamer ship was trying to come in through the gate, couldn't find the gate, hit right by the Presidio, hit the rocks. And a lot of, I can't remember how many people, it was a lot though. So a lot of fog. So we're going to look at pictures from the fog, pictures above the fog, pictures below the fog. This is trying to make snow, man. These guys look at that. That's dismal. 41 degrees right now at Northstar. There should be skiing. Well, this guy's got skis on. That was weird. Maybe that guy was skiing. But you get the idea, right? Maybe skiing on rocks. So 41 degrees. You need 28 degrees to make snow. I want to see this guy. Yeah, there's people with skis. Maybe they're going down. There is one packed run right over there. See it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're mowing. Well, hell yeah. Okay. Well, that's all man-made snow. You need about 2 feet of man-made snow on the base to ski. So, okay, Northstar, you guys are going, but look at the difference between Northstar and Mammoth. Mammoth, of course, 45 degrees, very warm as well, but they started off with more snow, so they've been open for over a week. Oh, there it is. Let's see. We get a shot. Yeah. So you can see the snow, good coverage, high elevation. Mammoth's a big mountain. Those, up over 8,000 feet. What do we got there? Yeah, around over 8,000 feet. I don't have an elevation on this one, but you can see the runs are pretty well covered. So interesting, slow getting that snow open in Tahoe, but it was nice to see Northstar open. I did not realize they were open today. This is the visible satellite image, or not. This is the infrared satellite image, and this is that stream of moisture. I don't even need to really do much, right? Right there it is. Guess that's a moisture film. This is enhanced infrared, which just means it's enhanced. It means just the colors to represent the extreme amounts of cool air, because that's what infrared is. Cool air that's pushing inland, and you can see it moving into the Pacific Northwest. That comes into play as we go into this week, and so it's going to be something we'll talk about. This is a live camera. This is up in Wairika. We do this camera often. Wairika today is going to be in the 50s. Mount Shasta, and this is the kind of, Mount Shasta might get a little bit of activity from this system. You can almost see the line, can't you, right? I mean, that's that system to the north. You go to the left of the shot, and you've got rain up around the Columbia River, up in Oregon, but we're on the southern end of this conveyor belt of moisture, Mount Shasta. This is an interesting shot. I was looking at this morning going, okay, this is out of Bernie. Temperatures, this morning we're in the 20s. It'll get into the 40s and low 50s today. But then I took a loop on it. I think that's smoke down in the valley because it looks a little, it's kind of, you see it here. And then it's, yeah, I think that's smoke. The first I thought, God, that's an interesting fog pattern. Okay, right? Yeah, that's smoke. And I think it clicks into a fire here at some point. So they must have been, yeah, they tried to click into that fire. Maybe they do it again. But there's those clouds, okay? So that's northeast California. This is northwest California, Crescent City. Smith River Drainage Basin looking out at Crescent City. Out here, temperatures today will be in the upper 50s. The coastal areas, you guys have been crushing it. Fort Bragg, Point Arena, Crescent City. I'm telling you, I mean, even today, I looked at the beach to go surfing in San Francisco. It's so foggy and gross. Well, let's look at it now. It's so just like, oh my God, right? That's Ocean Beach. That's valley fog. But that's the ocean, Bill. Why is there valley? Yeah, that's how much valley fog there is. It's spilling out into the ocean. So there's Crescent City. Here is, I believe we are in Red Bluff. That doesn't feel like Red Bluff, but I think we are. Yeah. That's out looking down. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Oh, yeah, get it right, Bill. I haven't used this one before. So that's valley fog. That's how intense and locked in the valley fog is, all the way up through Red Bluff into Redding. This is Mount Lassen right here. So when we go, can I do it? I think I can do it. Watch. I'll go from here. No, I can't do it. I was going to pop back. But I have that Alturas cameras on the other side of Mount Lassen looking back. Same with the Almanor camera. So that's Mount Lassen, Cascade Range, and that's the Central Valley. And get used to it. I know. And that's that thing I was telling you about yesterday when I grew up in Paradise. I grew up we were about 2,000 feet. And that was just the spot, man. You could walk out to the canyon edge and just look out over the fog, over Chico, over Oroville, over Las Plumas, over Corning, it was just foggy. And you just kind of check, because I had a lot of friends in Chico. I go, that sucks, dude. It'd be beautiful sunny, playing tennis up on the hill. That's part of the reason I think my dad moved to Paradise, was to get out of the fog. This is Mount Tamalpais. This is the San Francisco shot. You can see Sutro Tower right here. Golden Gate Bridge is not poking through. San Francisco's right here. Montera Mountain Pacifica here. Mill Valley here. And that valley fog. My friends in Marin are freaking out too. Because I just talked to Mike Meebach, who's an awesome dude. And he lives up north. And he was the anchor at Channel 2. And he's a really good anchor too. He is just like, oh my God. Because you live in places where you get valley fog, but not like this. This year is unprecedented in my mind. I wish Dad was still around. He's 98. He just passed, but he has a pretty good memory for weather, which is interesting. This is Bliss Park, looking out towards Emerald Bay and Lake Tahoe. Kind of warm up there today, like I said, in the 40s this time of day. Oh, hello. We're in Fresno, dude. Let's put a loop on this, see if it does anything. Hope you're enjoying your coffee this morning. I know it's Sunday, and he's not doing anything, but there's that earthquake. I want to talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about the king tides as well. They are dying down. There's the fog. They are dying down, and we'll explore that a little deeper and coming up here. Here's Mount Diablo, and again, just another illustration above the inversion, and just the valley just blanketed. Now, again, Jan Knoll, my buddy, who's Golden Gate Weather Services, I got to give him a call because he'll dial it in. He'll go, no, can't remember it. He was a lead forecaster at the National Weather Service, taught meteorology at San Francisco State, and just he's like a really awesome climatologist. Like his brain and his focus and his thoughts really lean towards climate. Always did. So even though he's a functional operational meteorologist, he loved the climate stuff. And this is kind of climate stuff because I'm not sure how, the way I would look for fog is I'd go, okay, how long the longest run of fog. I would look at the temperatures. I'd have to, because I don't think there's some sources, I guess we could get cloud cover, but it's hard to get, I don't know if there's such a thing as a record cloud cover, right? So that's sort of a thing. So here's Mount Diablo. Way up there. What do we got next? Oh, Santa Barbara, because they're good. They've been crushing it down there. Swell's small, though. Surf's not that big. I'm doing a lot of live cameras this morning because it's so, my house right now is just Well, my house right now is, that's not my house. That's right. It feels like my house. And then let's see, we go to Santa Barbara. Okay, and then we go to Laguna Beach. All right. So we're cruising along here. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next year. We got a national map. No, we got the flood warnings and flood potential starts tomorrow for this AR. Okay, let's do it that. Let's call it an AR in the Pacific Northwest. They're going to get wet. They're going to get wet from Oregon to Washington, and you'll see Northern California gets a little taste, but not much. So through Wednesday night, they're expecting over 3 inches of rain up in North Bend. This is Oregon, Medford. See how it's you can see the atmospheric river signature being everything on the west side of the hills. And once you get on the east side, out into Grants Pass, it's down to a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. But it does spill up the river, up through Hood River, and you get pretty good. You're getting further north, and up further north, you're going to see more aggressive rainfall, obviously. So flood watches, and then they'll turn into flood warnings by Monday, probably. And then this is sort of a way to look at the fog. I don't know how I got this one in line, but this is where we're going. This is actually out of Hanford, out of the Central Valley. And I found this sort of, not depressing, but sort of sucky in that today. This is the chance of max temperature greater than 60 degrees, right? So you're like, whatever, but it's like a 1% chance today in Fresno, 1%, 1%. Basically, Fresno is living in temperatures that they're 40s and 50s right through the neck. Coalinga, you'll get a little break. You see here, Lake Isabella, it's elevation thing. Mariposa, you get a little break towards Wednesday. So yeah, dense fog advisory in the Central Valley down towards Coalinga as well. The dense fog advisories are surprising me because I'm surprised there's not way more, but I think the fog's, it's been in the valley so long that it's kind of lifted a little bit. And now it's a little higher. I think it's when it first forms in the beginning stages, it's very low and you get more dense fog advisories. Here's the air quality alert. That's when we have big high pressure. Southern California has high pressure too, and they get an inversion. These are the forecast highs for today. So yeah, tell me if it's something you didn't see, you didn't know, because this is how it's looked literally the last couple of days. So that's today, and then this is tomorrow. Yeah, looks a lot like today, but it's tomorrow. I know. So rainfall percents of average, we're still okay. Despite the lack of rain, we're doing okay because we got so much, but it's not going to last long. This is the time of year where those numbers whittle away fast, and by the end of this 2-week run, we're going to be back to needing to get rain. Well, we already need to get rain, but you know what I mean. And this mountain snow, it takes a lot of electricity to make snow. Unless you're gravity fed. Palisades is gravity fed. So there's a real kind of cost effective kind of thing. The ski resorts they're like, what? Because this is when they make money, but they got to get snow. Like we just saw Northstar. I don't know exactly how their snowmaking goes. If they're blowing it, how they're doing it, if they're mixing. Sometimes they mix compressed air in with it. Sometimes they blow it out, the water out, and then hit it with fans. I mean, there's various ways, but either way, you're generally, unless you're straight gravity, you're using energy, and it's expensive. It's expensive. So that was interesting. I was kind of shocked that they were open. Actually, I'm glad for them, but that's cute. It's a nice day. I mean, Jesus, it's 41 degrees. That's one run. Everybody's on it. That's fun, though. A lot of kids. Okay. So let me go back to where we were. Okay, we got to go here. Okay, precipitable water. So this is West Coast. This is precipitable water. You're like, whatever. Then boom, right there. There's your Monday. That's why they got the flood watches, flood warnings. If you want, that's my definition of an atmospheric river. More linear, more meridional, more intact, more moisture. So I would call that. If that was heading for us, I'd call it an atmospheric river too. And it pinches off, but then it keeps focus, right? So now you're into Wednesday, kind of pins off, but still, and then goes away. So we're just looking at atmospheric moisture available, and then they get another round, right? and then it slips through. That's our next chance, which is the 17th. You'll see that. You'll see that, and this is just water available, but you can see that's our next chance, and that looks better. So the waters, things look better towards the end of the month in terms of fuel. Here's Pacific Northwest accumulation over the next couple of days, and you can see, gosh, half a foot of rain by Thursday next week. And I'm just going all the way through, you guys. But that's the footprint, right? Because here's California, and you're looking at a foot of rain by through the 20th or somewhere in there. Again, doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just as a good, it gets us close. We get an idea what the models are thinking. Here is sea level pressure, rainfall, and the thing you look for here is this is because we know that the greens and the blues is rain, not happening for us. So you can look at the thicknesses. Those don't tell you much right now because nothing's going by. So the thicknesses will hover about the same. Thicknesses are dashed lines. But what I watch are the black lines. Are they going to start getting close? Because that's how we're going to get rid of the fog. I mean, at this point, since there's no rain, we're hoping for wind to get rid of the fog. And you can see the bars are up here. They're close together. It's windy up there in that AR area. But down here, pressure gradients are slack, really slack. That indicates fog. We're into December 12th. Next Friday, right? A little something there. They see how it tries to get something going, but that's not going to clear it out if that's what happens. So you see, and then you see these lines are close together, and that is our next system for December 16th. And then the fog would come out on that. I know, right? Okay, so here is the, so what did I just say? More of the same. Washington, Oregon, you guys are like, wow, we're in. Let's get that. They're going to do watches and advisories. They're going to have, all sorts of rain up to a foot over the next couple of weeks. And we are going to have, according to this is accumulation. You look where it just stops right up there. So this is next Saturday. This is a week from today. Wow. Then you'll see this guy dip in on the 17th. And even then, not horribly impressive. It's really got Northern California footprint on it. I'm just showing you that because it helps you go, okay. And then this is the West Coast. And you see the Pacific Northwest. That's what an AR would look like. And you can actually kind of see the trajectory of this is accumulated precip. Again, Jesus. So back to what I said before, and I think it bears weight. It used to be when you're a little kid, you go, I can't remember a time it snowed like this, when you're 7, because you're 7. But when you're 67 and you go, I can't remember a time, and I'm kind of throwing it out there too, because I'm hoping Jan's watching, and he'll go, hey, dude, this isn't what you're saying, or this is what you're saying. Because in my mind, it is what I'm saying. I can't remember a time where there was this much valley fog, this persistent, and especially not just in the valley, but sloshing into San Francisco, into San Jose. Those areas, not void of valley fog, but not plagued by it as we have been. There's a national map, and there's the parent low setting up to do its wet business. This is the current radar watches and outlooks, and the radar shows rain down here, right? Snow here, a little snow here, nothing big. And then this is the rain that's falling. There's a little bit of rain falling up in the Pacific Northwest now. And then this is green representing a flood watch, flood warning, windy weather warning, wet weather warning, just getting ready, loading them up. This is, again, the watches and warnings. That's a wind advisory there. But this will be, again, a foot of rain in a couple of weeks. That's 6 inches a week. That's pretty good. They can handle it, by the way. Depends how it comes, but you'll hear a little bit about it. But again, a foot of rain in LA, we see what that does. But a foot of rain in the Pacific Northwest, those guys are wired for drainage, the drainage basins, the number of rivers, so on and so forth, because it's evolved that way geologically. This is the above average temperatures, and that would make nothing but sense based on what we looked at. And then below average rainfall. Dang. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. Okay, so this 7.0, What's the deal with that, right? Because I saw the 7.0 last night, and I'm like, okay, see, this is the 7.0. This is in Alaska, and these are the aftershocks. There's a lot of the aftershocks are 5s and 6s, man. I remember after the 89 quake, the aftershocks were like, I can't remember how big they got, but a 5 was like, yeah, whatever. You swear to God. Now a 5, and it's the lead story, but that we had 3s, 4s, and 5s for days after the 89 quake. This did not produce a tsunami. Now, I was like, for sure there'll be at least a warning. But what happened is here, you're on the north end of the, kind of the northeast, in the north end of the North American plate, or the Pacific plate, pardon me. And it's a subduction zone. So when you get an earthquake on a subduction zone, usually you get a huge amount of displacement in the landmass. That's a subduction zone. They call them, it's called the Cascadia subduction zone, but it's, what do they call it? Mega thrust fault. They're mega thrust faults. And the land just moves real quick, and that's how you get the big earthquake. But what I'm seeing and what I've been reading is that this quake, which was a 7.0 in Hubbard Glacier, Alaska, was a little further inland and generated itself on a fault. Didn't have any displacement of land under the ocean. Didn't pop it up to create the tsunami. Sounds like it impacted further inland and was a different quake, maybe. They're not sure. It's kind of, the information is kind of, but when I saw that quake, I go, oh, for sure you're going to get at least a Hawaii tsunami warning, right? Because this zone, this whole ring of fire, this is where you get your tsunamis, right along here, these subduction zones. And the biggest, of course, is the Cascadia subduction zone down in, how are we doing there? Down in Pacific Northwest, which is, we're there. You know, this is the Cascade, well, this is the triple point, and then this whole fault line is a mega thrust fault. So we didn't get one there, which is awesome. But we could. We could someday, and we probably will. Here are the, a lot of guys catching the crabs right now. This is the forecast. The surf's not going to get very big. We'll look at a live picture of Ocean Beach. Ooh, I see shadows. That's good. First thing I want to talk about is king tides. They're winding down. They got up there. They were up over, 7 feet high, -1, almost -2 feet low. It's still, they peaked yesterday and the day before, the king tides. The thing I think strikes me is they're called spring tides, and the spring king tides. And I'm like, well, that's in the spring, right? And they're like, no, they're just spring king tides. I'm like, what? No, spring tides, this and this. It's a king tide, winter or spring. And it's because the spring, the tides, this is how it got its name. This is so lame. Tides spring up. So seriously? Spring tides? And you're going to, that sounds like a spring. It's winter or summer, or whenever they occur. We've got 2 more spring tides, or we call them king tides, coming up in January and December, and they're bigger. There's more alignment between the moon, the sun, and the earth. Things line up a little better. I think the earth is in perihelion with the sun, so it's closer to the sun, and it's closer to the moon. So they were high the last few days. King tides coming up, just, I can't remember exact dates, end of December, and then again early January, are bigger. They're the biggest ones of the year. And king tides, a little bigger on the East Coast than they are here. And the reason for a lot of this is bathymetry, right? How the ocean works, or how the topography of the coastline works. So I did a deep dive into king tides the other day, and it was like, wow, tides are, they're not confusing. The moon has the biggest impact on the tides, right? The sun has a little bit of an impact on the tides. The moon has a bigger impact because it can get closer to us. But the moon, right, it pulls on the tide. It's just, everywhere is impacted differently. So it's like the difference between the high tide in Santa Cruz and the difference between the high tide at Ocean Beach is like, sometimes like it's over a half hour, an hour. Like you would think high tide, but it's not. So anyway, the king tides are winding down, but still high. Crab fishermen, you guys, dude, be careful. They're killing it right now, by the way. I'm just going to say it. I'm not fishing for them right now, but the crab fishermen, I talked to a guy yesterday, got 8. Another guy a couple days ago got 12 or 10, which is the limit. And they're big crabs. So, but I think it has a lot to do. They like the high tides, but please be careful. Ocean Beach. Is it surfable? Tide's still high. The water, so much water moving. So this is usually where I surf. And the tide, as it goes out, it's still coming in right now, I think. Let me check. Well, I'll check later. But when the tide, it starts going out and it comes out through the gate, all that water, 7 feet, 8 feet of water comes out the gate. And the current's already going this way because of the swell direction and because of the lateral drift. Everything's going this way, ocean currents. And then you add king tide, this much water coming out, and to stay in place and surf on a sandbar's trying to push you off. To stay in place on a sandbar is almost impossible. Or for me, it is. Okay, and then this is Halama. Beautiful day, sunny. They'll be in the low 60s today. Isn't that amazing, the difference between Northern California and, I mean, we get so much swell. We get so much swell. This is Mount Shasta. I can't fast forward this one because they were using it for something else. This is the static cam. But there it is, beautiful. They're gonna get some snow, I think. I think they're far enough north that they'll pick up some remnant of this northern Pacific Northwest event that they're gonna have, the AR event, which I'll call it that. I think it's fair. Here is the Mount Whitney, right here. Right, there's Mount Whitney. Pretty. I'm glad they're skiing up in Tahoe. This is skiing up in Tahoe. I'm back to Northstar. Nature snacking it. Skiing's awesome. I love skiing. Grew up skiing. But I gotta tell you, I'm not, but I have my friends work at ski resorts, you know, are ski resort people or skiers. It's so expensive. Like sometimes I look at families who are able to go and how much it must cost to put your kid in skis, to put him in warm clothes, to drive him up there, to have a place to stay, all of that. This is, by the way, Farallon Islands. And it'll switch over in a minute. When it does, I hope it does. Farallones are sunny right now. Really nice. But I just always marvel at what it must take to do that. A family. I mean, we all did it, but it was cheaper. I can't even imagine how people do it. So I'm sure there's places that are cheaper. Let's see if I can get you that shot I wanted to show you. There's sunny. There's sunny. Oh, dang it. Okay, forget it. I had a sunny shot with seals. And then this is Venice Beach. They're going to go upper 60s today. So hope you have a good day. Thanks for tuning in. We covered a lot, though. Snowmaking, big rain in the Pacific Northwest, king tides, and that 7.0 earthquake. 7.0 earthquake, that kind of shocked. The fact that there was no tsunami was like, what? Tsunami alert, tsunami warning. And so I didn't do a deep dive, but I got a little into it this morning, and it appears that this thing was the fault zone it was shallow, which would also do that for you, but the fault zone was a little bit more inland, and it sounds almost as if it wasn't triggered by the subduction zone, like it might have. I'm not going to go there. I'm not a geologist. I'm going to find out more about that, just because I'm always interested, because tsunamis are the thing, truthfully, that kind of they get my attention a lot, because tsunamis are the thing that mess you up during an earthquake, for sure. It's not the shaking. We saw that in Indonesia, right? We've seen what it can do. Okay, in Japan. All right, I'm gonna roll. I'll see you back here. Today's Sunday. I'll see you Sunday football day today. I'll see you back here Monday.